Hello, my friends. Katie Day with the Moving to Texas team. Today, we are here with another episode of the Real Advice podcast. I am very excited to welcome this week's guest, who really needs no introduction. Complete badass broker in the California, Santa Monica area. Keri White, what's going on? How are you?
Good morning. It's awesome to be on here all the way from Cali. Just got back from Texas, where you are, and excited to be here, obviously.
Yeah, it was awesome spending some time together in Dallas at the summit. It's always a fun time getting together with all of our, 6,000 closest real estate friends.
Yes, seeing people that maybe you've been talking to on social media for years, and especially with COVID, you finally meet these people in person, and it's almost surreal. Like I feel like I already know everybody, but they're like, I've never met you in person. And I'm like, we're all on social, we're chatting,
Yeah.
we're zooming. Like it just feels like we all know each other so well. Just the power of social.
Yeah, I mean, I had that moment with Liz Novello because she didn't come to Summit last year. And so I saw her on Monday night. And I gave her a hug. I'm like, what's going on? Like, what's up? It's so good to see you. She's like, it's so nice to meet you. And like, we had that moment where we looked at each other and I was like,
You sure?
you're right. I've never met you before. And she was like, I know. I'm like, we talk like every day, like on Instagram, right? And then it's like, you're like, oh no, actually we don't know each other. So, whatever.
Especially
Right?
with Zooms too. I feel like
Yeah.
I know everybody so well, but
Yeah.
it was a
So,
great time in
yeah. So
Texas.
coming off of Summit, I think it's always overwhelming. You come out of there with like a list of things to do, list of things to implement for the team and for the brokerage and for, yourself and personal life and business life and all these things, right?
Yes.
So what do you do to like organize all of those thoughts? Because I'm sure you have a laundry list of things and I know you had some teammates there and stuff like that. So like what do you do to like kind of debrief and break all of that down?
Yeah, that is the best question. And that is a key. I mean, I've been conferencing as I, turn it into a verb.
Yeah.
Not every year, but my first one was 2008. There was
Okay.
probably 300 people in the room at the JW Marriott in Palm Desert, which is a place like I grew up at. And
Okay.
Tony Robbins was the guest speaker, like to
Damn.
think whole people in 2008. Yeah. And now that's a fourth of the size of what the elite retreat is like in
Yeah.
January in Vegas. It took a few years on and off, but the biggest thing agents struggle with is the overwhelm from all of the things to do. And then, what overwhelm leads to paralysis, which is lack of anything. And then you do nothing. So even though you want to do all the things, pick one or two and try it out. It's also about tweaking your systems. Like Stephanie Younger had that great case study on her open house. Like she just saturates the market on the Lower West Side in Westchester. And it's amazing. And we've got a great open house strategy as well. But instead of getting overwhelmed by how big she goes, we just tweaked ours a little bit, tweaked a couple scripts, tweaked our open house supply kit. But my advice would be to just pick one or two or tweak a couple of your systems. But everybody does it differently. You can line up 10 agents and everybody makes their money, runs their brokerage, hires, recruits, invests in a very different way. So my biggest takeaway was when Tom said, what is your superpower? Think about it. And he said, my superpower is that I remember details about people, very specific details. And it's funny because I remember in 2014 when we were in Ojai at one of the team leadership, right when they first rolled out Team Plus. And we were having like a, I don't know, line down cowboy type buffet thing. I don't know why. And he was like, hey, it's so great to see that your brother was home for the holidays. And I saw you guys were all at St. Monica's church. Like, have you always been going there? And I'm thinking, this was like April. And I'm like, Tom very knows I went to Christmas Mass at St. Monica's and my brother lives in like, for me, it's a trigger because my brother lives in Australia and we're close. And I'm like, Tom, that's your superpower. So agents, identify what it is that makes you successful and lean into it and think about it every day.
No, that's huge. And like it's funny you bring that up about Tom because like I know someone that recently won a coaching call with him and they were like, so I've come up with all these questions and I've got like all of these things that I want to talk about and blah 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 blah. And I was like, that's great that you like prepared. I was like, but like just knowing Tom, like you're going to get on this call. He's going to start asking you a few questions, and then the call is going to go in a completely different direction than you thought it was going to. But he's also going to go so deep so fast that you're going to be like, wow, why are we talking about like, whatever? Like it's
That's
crazy. So, and
that's
then
a
he's
really
going to
good
remember
point
it,
about that.
right? Like
And then
at the
you'll
next
remember
elite
it.
retreat or summit or whatever,
Mhm.
he's going to be like, hey, did you finish that marketing plan of blah
Yes.
blah 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 that we talked about in the conference?
Yes. Did you find your avatar of your perfect recruit or something? And you're like, oh shit, yeah. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
point about Tom. And that's his superpower. So, it is a mindset thing as much as it is a practical business. But that's what I love about the coaching organization is they teach you how to run a business. It's
Yeah.
not just mansions or sneakers and heels. You don't just show up and sell a house.
Yeah. If only we could.
If only we could. It's the furthest thing from that.
I know, right? No, I think that that's huge, and I think that like the tweaking of the systems, I think, is also really big, and people kind of throw that aside sometimes.
Mhm.
And you don't have to overhaul your entire business, but if you're doing something that I like, then maybe I can adjust my system just a little
Yeah.
bit to be similar, right? But not be like, okay, we're gonna throw this out. This is how Keri does it, and I'm gonna do it this way.
Oh
Just
yeah.
adding in those extra little tools in the tool belt toolkit.
Which is interesting because that's one of his top 5 things for an elite broker is revamping every 18 months,
Yeah,
which is so overwhelming because like my operations manager said, just like you change all the things we do all the time. And I'm like, sorry, like, should I stop doing that? And I'm like, no, because the world is changing so much faster around us that we have to stay on our toes with how our consumers and how our teams are operating,
yeah.
especially with the last couple of years.
Staying relevant, I think, is important.
Relevant.
Scrapping everything may not be the best idea, but yeah, like definitely tweaking to
No.
stay relevant is a great move there for sure.
Yeah. And then networking to find out what you're doing that maybe someone else is doing it better.
Hmm.
Like if you're using Trello for transactions and then you see how someone has it all automated or something, it's like, whoa, okay, just leveling up, you don't know what you
Look at
don't
this,
know.
yeah, look at this world out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Right.
yeah, no, I hear you on that. Um, no, that was my biggest thing, and really like I had kind of like two takeaways of like building out our team and our org chart. Like it's something we talk about so frequently, right? And then the other
Oh,
was like the training for the team, right? So those are my two things that it's like we came out from Summit, and before my first coaching call post Summit, I was like, I've got to have these things in the calendar because I know my coach is gonna be like, so what are your takeaways and when are you gonna do it?
yeah. Oh, that's
So
amazing. Yeah, no, the training in the org chart is huge. We're actually working on a Google site training manual as well, where we'll
nice.
train you all. So if you want to talk about that, we can do that.
Yeah, if you need any help or anything with that, we've built ours out.
Ah,
For the most part, we're working on tweaking it a little bit, but yeah.
tweaking.
Yep.
Yeah, we're
Yep.
trying to put ours on steroids because it's just a drive right now. So we're making it a website. But I hear you. There's so many things to tweak and
The
things.
cool thing about Trainual, for anyone that's listening, is that if you do have all of your stuff in Google Drive, which is where all of ours was, it
Mm.
copy pastes formatting, right? So like if you have a thing in Google Drive where it's like it has a heading and it has subheadings and bullet points and stuff like that, if you
Hmm.
copy that doc and you paste it into Trainual, it's going to keep that same formatting throughout the document. So, if it's your open house guide
That's
of what
helpful.
you need to
Yeah.
have in your toolkit in your trunk, it'll look the same as it does in Google Drive with, obviously it may be a slightly different font or whatever, but like
Right.
you don't have to then reformat it. So that was like the one thing for me that like there's
Huge.
lots of learning management systems out there, but I was like,
Yeah.
if this cuts down 5 minutes on every module, like let's do it.
Yeah, because if you copy paste from Google Drive, sometimes the formatting just goes to hell in a handbasket. So if you're detailed, obviously, like we are, that's a huge thing to know from
Yeah,
training.
for those just listening, Keri's eyes lit up when I was like, the formatting stays the same. She's like, oh, tell me more. Talk dirty to me over here.
Yeah, no, checklist. Oh, they make me excited. It's crazy. What do you think?
um,
I don't know.
anyways, so you come from like a real estate family, and I know your husband does as well, right? So
Yeah.
did you ever work in anything other than real estate, or was this just like it's the family biz, so I'm gonna hop into it, or what did that look like for you getting into real estate?
Well, it's interesting because my dad, he is a broker. He's a property owner, developer type. Um, and he owned a race car team his whole life. and we moved to Australia, and then he bought like resorts and came back, and that's when he got into real estate. And I was working at a, hold on, my dog is eating cardboard. Come here, Lewis. Come here. Okay, you're done. I was working at a Starbucks,
Okay.
and at 4 a.m., getting up. So I guess that shows hard work. Making, it opened at 5. And I had somebody one day throw a cup of coffee trying to hit me because I was the barista. And he's like, I don't know if I can swear on this. I didn't get my effing ad shot, and throws it it was the third busiest Starbucks in the Valley in Los Angeles.
Oh
And I was
my
like,
God.
I don't do well with violence. And I call my dad, and I'm
I
like,
mean,
I was like, I can't do this. It's like people are on crack cocaine coming in here. And he's like, come work with me. So it was 2013, and I went and started helping him and got licensed in 2015. And then I ended up moving over to the West Side to work over here. So I technically went on my own.
yeah.
Like a Tom Ferry, Mike Ferry type thing, but my dad and I still work together, and he's taught me a lot. And then
Yeah.
my brother and my dad and I were all working together, and it didn't work because I'm like a drill sergeant, and I'm like, I went to Tom Ferry, and we're going to do these scripts, and we're going to say this. And they both looked at me like, no, we're not going to do that. Like, we're going to do it our way.
Yeah.
So I started my own little path. And then, my brother got into sales in Australia as well. And then, yes, Eric, my husband, who we met at a real estate conference.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a lot of real estate chat in our lives. And he owns a brokerage in Claremont, about an hour out. Human Elements.
And his family is also in real estate as well, right?
Yes. His whole family, his sister and his mother, stepfather, not his real dad. And then their grandma was in real estate. So there's some lineage there.
Yeah. I knew there was some family connection on his side just from like Instagram and seeing like, I guess now like what's his mom, right? Like it'd be like, oh, like familial connection there, but I didn't know like it also went further back and, siblings and things like that. So
they are all in the family. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah. What do you guys talk about at like Thanksgiving dinner?
Yeah.
That's gross.
Real estate. Yeah. I try not to. Well, that's why, with Eric, like he'll be opening in LA. That's not like an official announcement. But we operate very differently. We're very different types of business owners. I know you work with your husband, right? So
we do.
I am very, it's my way or the highway kind of thing.
Yeah.
And when we bought a couple investment properties together, we became business partners. We were just on a call with our property manager, and he's like, okay, well, I don't want to turn on instant book. And I'm like, I do. And then we're like, well, what do you do now? Because you're business partners. So someone has to, you have to, but so getting used to working with someone, but we're going to use our strengths in different ways. Because I have even though I'm an artist and in sales, I have a very operational mindset. And I believe it was a learned thing just from running a business. Like, okay, how do I deal with growing business? So I really enjoy the systems and helping people grow and making things repeatable, duplicate, like, everything we have a template for. So we have a new client template system. We send out an offer, template draft, like everything. Now it transfers into Google ads, YouTube ads, and filming, and, it just grows and grows and grows. So I think I'll have some fun helping set things up on that side while he does his
other things,
and the agents and what he's good at. So we definitely have a lot of cool things to bring together when we start working together.
Well, yeah, and I think that's like understanding that you guys have differences in your working style, and like, hey, here's the clear like delineation of responsibility, and like this is my lane and this is yours. Ryan and I didn't have that in the beginning, and it was just kind of I thought you were going to do this. Well, I thought you were going to do this type thing. But now as we continue to grow the team, right, we've kind of moved into different roles and will continue to, especially as we hire more people and hire more admin and agents and stuff like that.
That is a really good point. Yep. Making clear expectations, and then also just not talking about work all the time,
which is hard.
It is hard, but I say to them, like, no more talking about work or employees or this client. Like, let's talk about, travel or whatever, our hobbies. And when you don't have kids, maybe, once your little baby girl is there, you'll have different things to talk about.
Oh yeah, like her going to the bathroom and stuff.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, no,
What her poop look
that's
like.
isn't that like all parents talk about? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But no, I mean, I think that that's huge. And I think that, um, yeah, just understanding kind of what your path is and what your roles are is always very important. Um,
Yes.
so
Yes.
yeah, that should be
Absolutely.
fun to watch unfold. So one of the things I've been seeing a lot, and like since you kind of brought this up, is people in like the Facebook groups for coaching are talking about like their SOPs. And like you just said, like we have a system or a template for everything. So like,
Yeah.
that obviously took time, right? You didn't just wake up one day and make them all. Like,
Yep.
so if I'm trying to implement SOPs, standard operating procedure, for whatever it may be, I don't even really care. Like, how did you start to make those? How did you start to like list those out? How did you make templates for them? Like, walk me through like high level, like obviously not in tedious
Yeah.
detail or anything, but like how did you start to make those?
SOP, I feel like that was the phrase, the acronym of the week, SOPs. And then at one point I was like, what do those stand for again? Like CRM, what does that stand for again? Like, you know what it is. But yeah, so
Yeah. You're like, I have
standard,
SOPs, but
yeah, I've got some SOPs, I've got a CRM. Yeah. Standard operating procedures. I think for us, it came out of a need for sanity. Like we're doing so many things and growing so fast that we were like, I'm thinking, well, we need a way to do this over and over again without having to go and find the email I already sent or look at the article I already sent to them. Or
yeah.
so we just slowly started putting together, like when I was a lot younger, I said, every escrow I have, I want to. So it's two things. One, it was a mindset and intention, and two, a coping mechanism. I said, I want to handle every transaction like I have 100 at a time. I'm not going to
Yeah.
remember if the washer dryer is included. So your client calls you and they ask, hey, when are contingencies due, or when, whatever. They're asking about the deal. If you have 100 escrows, you need something fast to open and check and give them the answer. So that's where it stemmed from. So
Yeah.
I made a very basic, ugly checklist with all the things. And then, as we grew and something would happen, like the cash buyer didn't measure the house and they included the garage and then they were upset. I'm like, that's a checklist item. So anytime something happened in the deal, I would add it. And, every time we would email something, we would tweak it into a template, anything
Yeah.
from people who inquire, lease inquiries on some of our high-end leases and things like that. So yeah, that's basically the start of it. And then you meet people who have a trainual or have something like on steroids, and then you develop it more
Yeah.
so, just as technology gets better. And it makes life so easy. Like for open houses, you're never showing up without knowing the Wi-Fi or locked out. Like you're not the I don't know agent. I meant real about this. Like when you go to an open house and the agent's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like we make sure that the agents sitting our open houses are set up. And if there's no service there or something, it's vacant, bring a chair, bring some water.
Yeah.
Like, it just makes life easier when you're organized and you've got something like a system to look at. So my advice for anybody is anything that you do during the day, just make a copy of it and put it somewhere in a note, in a drive, in a Dropbox, and start to build out. And then you can start to organize it by category, things like that. Is that high level
Yeah.
enough and not tedious?
No, no, that's huge. And that was kind of my advice, because like I think everyone's asking, they're like, how do I build out my SOPs? How do I build out? And it's like, that's such a broad question, first of all, but it's like, think about everything that you do for a buyer, for a seller, for an open
Yes.
house, for, a social media post, for whatever, and like start writing in tedious detail what you're doing. Right. And that's like for
Yeah.
open houses, like it's as simple as like turning on lights and opening blinds. Like, and it's like, you're
Yes.
like, that's clearly common sense, but then you're going to go into an open house and you have an agent sitting in, and they're sitting in there with all the lights off, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I need to write down to turn on all the lights.
Common sense is not that common. Yeah. Making sure the AC is turned off or something like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, you learn the hard way sometimes.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
no, I
What
definitely, yeah. It's overwhelming. Like I was talking about like this book. I was talking about this speaking at my office meeting, and
yeah.
like these case studies from Tom Ferry are
Yeah.
so overwhelming, right? So how would like I can see how you would look at this and be like, screw this, I can't do this.
Yeah.
But like I'm 100% sure Tom's team went and put this on steroids. These people don't really have like, I mean, maybe but it's just, like the lead gen one, she has a lead flow chart. You could Google lead flow chart. You
Yeah.
could Google buyer scripts. Like you can
Yeah.
Google open house supply checklist. Like everything is on there. And that's what I've learned is the power of Google. Like if anything you want to start, just one step at a time and Google it.
Well, and that's where also like taking some of those case studies and just saying like, okay, hey, this is the one thing I'm going to implement from this, right? And add this to
Yeah.
my open house thing. Oh, I like
Mhm.
that Keri does this. So now I'm going to add that to how I work with buyers, and we're going to have a buyer intake form or whatever it is. Like you don't have to overhaul everything. And that's where I think the overwhelm comes from,
Yes.
as you grow.
Yeah. Speaking of tweaking our YouTube, like Shannon Gillette's YouTube was
Yeah.
awesome. And so because we do, a lot of videos. So we're just tweaking our SEO. We're
Yeah.
tweaking all the best agent in something. So we're just doing little things based on what she gave. But you could get really overwhelmed looking at her YouTube and
Yeah.
all her
Yeah. Yeah.
videos.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, I was looking too, she's filming in her studio. So she's talking about how great it is to live somewhere. And like, I'm thinking like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to go out in the wild and be on the streets and do all this filming. I'm like, no, I could do it, at the home studio and do B-roll. So there's always ways to make it work, to
Yeah.
not be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 100%. You've been a proponent of video, I feel like, for a very long time. Would you agree with that? Like you've been doing video marketing for like
I guess
a
I'm a little
while.
bit of a sheep or a what do you call it? Like a Forrest Gump, I say, not a sheep. Forrest Gump. You know how Forrest Gump. We should all rewatch that. If we could all just apply the things we know we're supposed to do, like a
Yeah.
Forrest Gump. Like think about it. Like so, okay, I want to lose weight. Say that's the goal. Okay, eat this, don't eat that. Okay. Oh no, I'm gonna do everything but what I should do. If you told
Yeah.
Forrest Gump to lose weight, eat this, don't eat that, he'd be like, okay, ma'am, I had my veggies, I went for a
Yeah.
run,
Yeah.
and then he would lose weight. So that's what I try to do with coaching. Like I'm known as I grew up as being very like independent and kind of bossy, and as a business owner. As a business owner, I am very coachable and open-minded to things, in a way. I
I'll
still
ask
like to
Jason
do
if
the
he ever agrees.
things. Yeah. Yeah. So I do try to be open to that. But with video,
Yeah.
in 2018, Tom gave his video plan. I wasn't doing
Yeah.
videos prior to that. Like I think I had
Okay.
tried a couple. Yeah, I had tried a couple, but we were big in the social media space. So 2015, we started curating, back when you could you could do a photo shoot and it lasts 6 months and you just post all these glossy photos like this. And
Yeah.
everyone's like, wow, your social media is awesome. And you're like, yeah. And then like a few years later, they're like, I hate these professional photos. This isn't you. What's going on? And then videos became the thing. So
Yeah.
again, a shift. But anyways, Tom puts up his video plan. He goes, here's exactly what I do. And I still have it. I still know it. He films 4 in a day, changes his shirt. He has a bunch of topics in mind. And then he releases the video at 8 a.m. on a Tuesday. He does like one text graphic story, one video story, and then he does it again on Thursday, and then he does a sneak peek to the next one, and then it goes out with the e-blast, and then he rips off the audio. He gave this whole plan that I obviously remember. So we came back and I said to my team at the time, I'm like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We didn't know how to rip audio to a podcast, and we didn't really understand. Like I was filming the videos by myself on my Sony camera, which I have an upgraded version, but now obviously I have a videographer.
Yeah.
No, the first ones we shot on an iPhone. That's right. We shot on an iPhone and it was a closing. And I'm like, hey, we just closed this condo in Marina and there's like noise everywhere. And I'm like, they bought this for 500. We sold it for 9. That's awesome. Prices are high.
Super.
This is Keri TV. Yeah, so bad. Like, so bad. So it definitely went through an evolution. But I said, I will do this for 1 year no matter what. I'll be consistent to put out one video. And of course the snippets of it and that it's a whole SOP in itself. Our checklist for Keri TV is crazy because everything from the captions to the SEO to making sure it goes up on all the right channels, the thumbnails, and I can't even think of all the other things.
Yeah.
So it's slowly,
because it's all on a checklist. You don't even have to think about it now.
It's all in a checklist. Yes, don't have to think about it. So we did that for 1 year straight, and it was huge. And then what was that? That was 2019. I did that during wedding year as well. So it's evolved now. We don't do one a week anymore because we do more reels, KTV reel tips and things like
Yeah.
that. But we're going to kind of switch up the medium of what goes on Instagram and what goes on YouTube now, which we do in a way. But yeah, it's all, you have to keep shifting with all this social media stuff because my YouTube's not as big as my IG. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to switch
Figuring
up
out.
what we're doing. But the video has been very good for my business. It's much easier with clients and even agent referrals because people always say that they know me. And even when I'm touring properties with new clients, the agent will be like, oh, hey, Keri White, nice to meet you. I follow you on Instagram. You're great. And I get a little embarrassed by it sometimes because I'm like, oh my God, my clients are going to think like, I don't want them to follow me on Instagram. They're going to think, I don't know. I get like shy.
They probably already do follow you on Instagram, Keri.
Most of them do. I know. I did a poll and I was like, oh my God, look who responded to my poll. I'm like, that's our client. That's crazy.
Yeah. They're watching.
Naive in that way. But it just helps, build that trust and relationship in a world that, when you're trying to build your business and clients and retention, it's much easier. You still have to call them. You still have to check in. You still have to tell them what their house is worth and run CMAs and that whole thing. But it just makes it a level. There's like a cushion around you that they feel like you're in the know, they can trust you, you know what's going on, you can help them, you're knowledgeable, you're trustworthy. And what are the top things people think of when they think of a real estate agent? If you were to ask the general public, what are some adjectives for real estate agent?
Yeah. They wouldn't use those words.
Yeah, right. They wouldn't be good things. And what are the adjectives for how we see ourselves as consultants? Right? Like patient, trustworthy. So that's what the video helps communicate, that image. And it's, as I say, curated. Like I'm not going to wake up and have my hair in a bun and just like slop on. Like I have to be presentable when I'm doing these stories. So there is a whole magic to it and a presentation, right? I could be like running late somewhere and like forgot my passport or go to the airport and everything's a mess and I'm like upset and the client's yelling and I lose my bag. And then the Instagram's like, we arrived in Cabo. Wow, Cabo. Yes.
Yeah.
Cheers. Like that's the real world.
So it's funny you mentioned that because like for most of my reels, I shoot with my videographer, right? And so that's like me sitting in a chair or like we've done some other stuff, but like me sitting around basically talking direct to camera, but it's high production quality. It's got the zooms, it's got the cuts, like, it's high production quality. So like generally speaking, like when you see that on your feed, like, it's me talking about some sort of real estate bullshit. Right. I had someone the other day, I was hosting a mastermind and he's like a coach, a digital marketing coach. And he's like, one thing that I would love to see from you, Katie, is more like raw stuff. He's like, I can almost guarantee you that your raw videos where you're just like, oh, hey, whatever, perform better than the stuff that you shoot with your videographer. I was like, okay, whatever.
Doesn't that annoy you? I hate that. I'm like, God damn it. No.
So I went into my insights. I looked at my top videos in Reels over the past year. And my number one video was a video that I shot in my car while it was raining. I had literally just run in the rain to get to, my car. And it was the open door, FTC stuff.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, I have to get this out and I have to get it out ASAP. That's my number one thing. And it's like me sitting in my car. Then like the next line has two videos that I shot on my phone and it was like housing market crashing and prices dropping. The next one has one and it's like ones that I'm shooting sitting right here where I am right now on my phone being like, this is breaking news. I need to get it out ASAP and I don't have time to go meet with my videographer, shoot it, have them edit it and then release it. Cause then in a day or two or three or a week, it's no longer news. And
those
so just interesting. Right. And like, I think, Tom talks about this a lot as well as like his like Saturday, in the car driving home from the gym, like selfie videos. He's like, those outperform like, his 42 podcasts a week that he puts out, and it's like,
Right. It's
so
true.
there is some
I,
truth to like the being a little transparent. And like, I think when you say that, people are like, oh God, like I don't want to share my entire life. And you like don't have to, right?
you don't have
But
to.
sharing some of behind the scenes and some trials and tribulations, and not everything to where it's like, whatever,
Yeah.
people feel as if they know you more. So I was like,
And
okay, I'll start throwing it in more if you say so.
yeah. And it makes you more approachable too. Like it's really good advice. I get frustrated. That's why I was like, oh, that's annoying. That's like everything you're doing, then you have to like shift. We're like, oh, we're always shifting so much. But it is true. I probably should do a little bit more of that because I've got a great gimbal and I can find great light. So I don't need the whole professional setup,
Yeah.
right?
No, and I think that it's not like you have to do it every day, but just like
No.
mixing it in on occasion does have benefit.
Yeah, and then it's an interesting point about going raw because that is something we were talking about on a YouTube strategy with a good friend of mine, Jeff Thibodeau in Canada, who is an amazing friend, and he should have been charging me thousands of dollars. But he was saying, when you're on YouTube and you're giving information, you could seem unapproachable or like you don't have time for people. So you need to start putting in call to actions in your videos. So like we're talking about the market, da da da. Hey, we have 2 spaces available for new private clients. So please DM us if you're interested. Like letting them know that they
Yeah.
can work with you. And I was like, that was a huge epiphany for me. I'm like, wow, I didn't even think about that. Like they think you're just
Huh.
some paid person on
Yeah.
YouTube give information, but they're like, no, we're doing this because we're trying to help our clients and we're trying to make sure that that we're here in your market and you don't have to use that old fuddy-duddy agent who's sending you like the oldest Word document font postcard. Oh my God, some of the marketing they use in Santa Monica, it's so bad. It's so bad. It's like Oregon Trail stuff, I swear.
I loved Oregon Trail when I was a child.
Me too. No, me too. But that's how the postcards look.
Yeah. No, I know. I got you.
Did you ever used to play You Don't Know Jack? You don't know Jack.
No, I
That was like
didn't.
an Oregon Trail to me, but yet people don't really know what that was. I'll
Must
find
have been a California thing.
it. Maybe. I don't know. I was in Australia for 3 years and I have foreign parents, so I'm a little behind the curve on all the
Or do you think
American.
was that an Australia thing?
Maybe. Maybe I was playing it there. It wasn't an accent. I don't know. But
Huh.
like Married with Children and all those shows, I never used to watch those.
Yeah.
And I also don't want pickles
Trip.
because, I was in hotels all the time. But anyways, okay. Good YouTube tip.
Yeah. Trip down memory lane. If you
Yes.
weren't a real estate agent, what do you think you'd be doing?
I think planning parties.
Okay.
It's kind of weird that like I don't know, like a travel blogger, just something that brings people together in a fun way. We started a women in real estate group a few years ago on the West Side, Fabulous Women in Real Estate, and we would throw co-ed parties once a quarter with
Okay.
all the boys.
Yeah.
And that was another thing too. I started it once and like there was like a group of 3 or 4 of us and like nobody was showing up, and then we did it a
Yeah.
year later and we said let's just meet every month, even if it's just us, and see what
Yeah.
happens. And then we actually were throwing them with the broke agent Eric Simon, and we had 400 or 500 people coming to these parties, and they were just shit shows because it was a bunch of agents but also title and escrow. If you're watching this and
Yeah.
you're in LA and you came to the parties, like say what's up. They were a lot of fun and I loved them. I loved planning these parties and I loved seeing everybody and I loved the network that it was, because the name was Fabulous Women in Real Estate. So it was about being fabulous. So
Yeah.
we had a blast. Agents, they love to drink and it was just a shit show, but it was really fun. It got a little, the group kind of broke up a bit and it was too much to be running a career and that.
Yeah.
But I don't know, a vet. What would you be if you weren't a real estate agent?
I don't know. I'm too far in at this point to see anything else in my life. No, but I
Yeah,
think that like what
yeah,
you're talking about is like really like, I mean, you plan client events, you like
right.
in your free time travel, right? So I mean, I think that like
Yeah.
all of what you're saying is kind of like your hobbies now, right?
Yeah, and it's we say we're a lifestyle brand because in LA it is a lifestyle. You know, the clients you work with are also going to the same hotels you go to.
Yeah.
So, I mean, on a different note, like if you're like, oh, I'm going to Cabo, and they're like, oh, where do you stay? And you don't know like the top 5 nicest hotels, you sound stupid.
Yeah.
You know, you don't seem like you belong in that clique, right?
That's
You
terrible
don't.
for me because my travel agent books all of our travel or my husband
Mm,
books it. So I literally like we were going to Greece and like up until like days before we were going, I was like, I don't even know what islands I'm going to. Like,
that's funny.
so yeah, I'd definitely need to study up if I lived in LA.
That's nice. It's funny. I plan all of our trip, all of our travel with Eric, which there's
Yeah.
always a lot of pressure. Do you ever show up with Ryan, and then he's like, "Here we are," and you're like, "I hate this hotel." Or are you nicer?
Um no, so generally speaking for trips like if they're domestic trips, I plan them a lot of times, but like for the international trips, like he plans them with our travel agent. So
I
like
got
it's not really on him if the hotel sucks, it's more on our travel agent.
it. Mhm.
So like,
Much
you know,
pressure.
we always have our notes of like these were the highs and lows and room for improvement next
Yeah.
time type thing.
We went to Turks and Caicos. Eric and I like to travel every Thanksgiving, which stopped the last year. Yeah, with COVID. We've been doing it since 2014, and we try to go to a new country every time. And we went to Turks and
Yeah.
Caicos one time, and I was like, I really want to stay at the Gansevoort. It's so fancy, it's beautiful. And we show up. It was like 1,000 a night, and it was right after the hurricanes. And I don't know,
Oh
maybe I'm like
geez.
not up on my current events as much. So in front of our room was just like shipwreck, you know, like the blown down bar,
Yeah.
like palm fronds everywhere. Everything was closed. And Eric was like, get me the hell out of Turks and Caicos. I'm like, it's not
Yeah.
that bad. I call my mom, I'm like, Eric hates to take Turks and Caicos. We have to leave. You know, like everyone's like, are you serious? So we ended up flying to Miami, stayed there for a few nights, and went to the Bahamas. It's like the one and only. So we had this like funky trip. But anyways, that's what happens when we plan travel.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets chaotic. Yeah.
But hey, at least y'all like pivoted. Like you could have just been there and been miserable and spending way too, and then like we're spending all this money, hotel
Yeah.
sucks, so
And that's also something about like brand names. Like although brand names can be overpriced, they can also be really reliable. Like a Four Seasons, you really can't go wrong with a Four Seasons.
well, and if like something goes wrong, like they're gonna fix it because like Four Seasons, the Ritz, like they're all known for their customer service, right?
Right.
So
Yes.
if something goes wrong, like they'll go above and beyond to make sure it gets corrected. So
Yeah, and that's what I found with Nikes on these shoes. They're really good about returns. So I need to be able to
um so yeah, do you consider yourself to be a sneaker person now?
no.
For those that don't know, her husband is like a massive sneakerhead. He'll be on the podcast here in a couple weeks, and we're gonna
Oh,
dig
fun.
into his sneakers. But okay, he's been buying
No.
her sneakers.
Yes. Yes. He buys me very coveted sneakers and expects me to be very excited about them. And
Like, oh, these are cute.
whenever we're out and someone goes, "Oh, I like your pandas," or "I like your dunks," or I like it, he goes, "Yes, yes, yes!" Like he gets so happy.
Well,
I'm
that's
like,
they're
calm down.
giving him the excitement that you're like, oh wow, these are very nice, thank you. He's like, those are rare. I searched all over for
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah. When we were in New York in July for a wedding, the sneaker culture there is huge. Everyone has these whatever awesome shoes on. The
Yeah.
Air Jordan 4 or 5s. I don't even know if I'm saying them right. Like looking at shoes right now. And he's like, those are like $4,000. Those are so hard to get. Like on stage, who was speaking? DJ Lindsay. I guess DJ had on. I'm sure you know what shoes he had
Some
on.
fancy shoes.
The Travis Scotts.
Okay, yeah.
He had on
Yes, because
some
I actually
Travis
talked to the DJ about those.
about his shoes. See, right? So I think they all honestly, like for our anniversary, he got me the Virgil off-white, I don't know. And he was so into them. And he like did this bid on StockX and he was like
Yeah.
so excited. And I was like, cool, these shoes have like plastic things on them. Like, what the hell? And I'm like, okay, that's great, thanks. So I got him some Louis Vuitton shoes and I was like, I'm gonna get you some designer, like real designer sneakers. And he keeps showing me these Nikes that look like all the same shoes, and they're like 700, 800. I'm like, I'm not buying you those. Like, I'm buying you real designer shoes. So I don't think I qualify as a sneakerhead, but my collection is growing,
It
and
is.
finding things to wear with that. That's the hardest thing. I mean, I love a pair of high heels. So
Yeah.
sneakers make me feel a little dressed down, but
I haven't yet
I'm
converted
working my
you.
fabulous sneaker outfit attire in somehow.
I tell you what, though, every time we've seen each other at masterminds or events, you've had a new pair or a different, maybe not new, but different pair of sneakers. So I'd have to argue in the Eric column of, he's slowly converting you. One day you're just gonna wake up and you're like, oh shit, I wear sneakers like 4 days a week. What am I doing?
Yeah, okay, maybe I'm a sneakerhead. He did catch me looking at the Nike app a couple times in bed in the morning, because I'm notorious for looking at properties in the morning in bed
Yeah,
before I go work out. Not emails, but I love seeing new inventory. I love seeing new
yeah,
deals.
yeah.
And lately he's like, "What sneakers are you looking at?" I'm like, "I'm not looking at sneakers. It's just a notification. I don't
I
know."
opened it.
Yeah. And I was like, I didn't know they had so many colorways in that style.
See, I mean, you even know the language. I think I'll talk to Eric about it some more, but I think it's exciting to hear you slowly being converted. I know he would be very touched by this conversation.
I'm very appreciative of his passion. That is one thing I'll say about my husband, Eric Crumbaker. He's all in. He's all in.
Yeah,
So if you're on his team, like, you're on his team. If you're his wife, you're his wife.
yeah.
Like,
If you're sneakers, you're
sneakers,
sneakers.
yeah, sneakers. They're his sneakers. And yeah, he cleans his sneakers every time after wearing them. He cleans my sneakers. The dog's paws get washed, everything.
Well, and it's probably honestly a good thing that he's so obsessed, because it's like you can then be part of the culture and have the shoes, but not actually have to like take care of them, because he's like, no, 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 you're not cleaning them right. You got to do it this way. Let me do it. Let me do it. So
Fantastic. That's
yeah.
absolutely true.
Actually, can I come live with y'all? Because like I was actually just texting one of my buddies of like what I should do, and he's like, you can spray them, but you can do this, you can do that. So I'll just come drop them off with Eric, and
You
he can
should.
clean them.
One thing he said is you clean them right side up with the scrub, because then the water doesn't pour all over the shoe upside down. Like,
Yeah.
oh, mind blowing. You already knew that.
Well, no, I like, yeah, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna hit you with one last question. And that is, if it were your last meal on Earth, what would you be
Oh
eating?
my God. A cheeseburger. I love
Okay.
cheeseburgers.
Do you have a particular place, like a go-to, or would it be like an In-N-Out, or like eat like McDonald's, or like something like just totally terrible?
There are a couple places in West Adams here in LA that have, like, I think it's Johnny's Pastrami. It has like this
Okay.
cheeseburger it just was dropped down from heaven one day. Or it would be like chocolate vanilla ice cream with M&Ms and sprinkles. 'Cause I eat like a 5-year-old.
I love sprinkles. My husband makes fun of me whenever I get like ice cream, because I'm like, can I have rainbow sprinkles?
Rainbow, me too. We have sprinkles in our house, and I don't make cakes.
That's cool. I would never make fun of you for that, Keri. So just know, if we're getting ice cream together at the next event or mastermind, and you want to add sprinkles, like I'll also be doing it. So it's all good.
Nice. Now I really want a cheeseburger. What do other people say their last meal should be?
Some people go like super like, okay, I had this one meal at XYZ place, so I would go back for this sushi, or I'd go back for this like,
Mm,
super rare steak, or, foie, or like something, like super high
uh,
end.
of
But a lot of
course.
people are just like, the classics, like pizza, burgers. Someone
Burgers.
someone once said a salad. I was like, all right, we're not going to publish this podcast. And then some people go like the family route of like, oh, my grandmother's baked ziti, or
Aw.
like, like that, like meal, your comfort meal. So we've
Yeah.
gotten a wide range.
Yeah, I think maybe being in LA and like the pressure of dieting, like there were a lot of years I didn't eat cheeseburgers. And like now that I've got like my lifestyle under control, I'm like, I
Yeah.
can have cheeseburgers now. But I think more
Yeah.
be what right before our wedding, I did one of those shoots, like the boudoir shoots. It's like on the Thursday before our wedding. That Thursday night, I went to R&D Kitchen, which is like the Hillstone group, and I got a chicken fried sandwich, a bottle of champagne, and fries. That's because I had not eaten for a
Yeah.
month
Yeah.
anything. So yes, a
That's funny.
sunset, champagne, and a cheeseburger. See you later, world.
All right. Good to know. Cool. Well, Keri, thank you so much for hopping on today and sharing. It's always fun catching up with you.
Yes.
And talking real estate and life. So very much appreciated.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. The famous Katie Day, just crushing the network.
You're hilarious.
The
All right.
queen.
I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, y'all. Bye.